All right. So, a quick brief about Dr. Pallavi. So, Dr. Pallavi is one of the student from India. She graduated from Indian Med School, and then currently she is pursuing her residency in pathology in United States. So, this session is very, esteemed session, and we had discussed briefly to share you the insightful experience of Dr. Pallavi while having into the residency last year, and how this effective personal statement can break and make your entire journey. So, Dr. Pallavi, over to you. And this is your platform, and I wish you all the very best. You will be enjoying with our participants.
Thanks, Harshit. That's such a nice introduction. So, as he mentioned, I'm Pallavi. I would like to share my screen if that's okay. Okay. So, moving on, just briefly touch upon what my journey has been. I went to med school in India, as Harshit introduced me. I went to Kashi Bai Navle Medical College in Pune, India. I graduated in 2018, after which I did the NEET PG and I joined residency in pathology at Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital in Pune again. I finished my residency in 2022, and that's actually when I began the journey towards the USMLE and residency in the US. Um, so I just wanted to drop it there that it's actually a very long journey. So if you are feeling discouraged that it's taking me a really long time to be where I want to be, this is a path that everybody has to follow. So before anyone gets a little demotivated, it can take anywhere between 2 and 3 years depending on your individual timeline. So the fact that you're here on a Saturday, sacrificing your evening, morning, or afternoon, I think you're already there. So just stay with us here. So moving on to 2023 is when I finished my step 2. I got ECFMG certified. And that's when I started looking for experience in the US itself, because I think that's something that's very important if you're looking for a residency. Yes, your home country experience does count as a physician, but you want to have experience that's specifically tailored to the practices here. And that's when I reached out. I began to network and I reached out to my mentor here at Loyola University in Chicago. And I secured a position as a fellow in hematopathology via something called the Exceptionally Qualified Candidate Pathway. And this was based on my residency experience in India. Simultaneously, I began applying for the 2025 match. And I think, yes, I had a very strong application. I think my scores were decent enough, but I'm certainly not a 260s candidate. So I think a lot of my success I can owe to one, my experience, two, my communication skills, and definitely the third most important, my personal statement. And well, I matched this year and I've just completed my first month and I think it's going very well. So I wanted to share this experience with you and why my personal statement really was as important as it was in my application. So moving on. I did interview with about 17 programs through the match. So the one thing that stood out to me in all my interviews were people asking me questions about one, my application, and two, my personal statement, where I talked about my entire journey. So that's one thing. So let's briefly touch upon what exactly a personal statement is. And I'm not just saying this because this is my point. There has been some research out there by faculty and students from programs, and this is just an example. This is from the Journal of GME is a thing. It's a body that every program has. And these are people, this is specifically from a program called the University of Utah and the Department of Internal Medicine, where the faculty wrote papers on how important a personal statement is and how it's the perfect way to showcase you on a personal level and to present yourself as a very personable individual. Now, what does that mean exactly? You want to be liked. When you talk about yourself, you want people to actually like you. And what exactly is a personal statement? As a third point, as I've mentioned, it provides the opportunity to present yourself as a very likable person on a personal level. So what that means is I'm not going to rewrite my CV over here. So when you have an ERAS application and you start writing it, obviously you're going to get the opportunity to talk about everything that you've done, which med school you went to. If you are a resident like me in the past, it'll talk about where you did your residency. You don't have to say the same thing again in a personal statement. Another opportunity that the personal statement gives you is this is the first time the program actually knows you as an individual. Until now, it's just an electronic document that they know as an ERAS CV and an ERAS application. Here is you talking about yourself. So that tells the program director, whoever is previewing applications, how much you fit into their program, because they know their residents, they know their faculty, they know what their personalities are like. And before they call you for an interview, they know whether you're going to actually work with them, because that's ultimately what they want. I'm sure everyone who's applying for residency is a perfect candidate, but you need to be a perfect candidate for them. Okay, and this is another opportunity, especially for IMGs. If you've been fortunate enough to have a good education, if you are fluent in a language, this is your stage. You talk, you use the best language that you know, you write well, because obviously this is an English speaking nation. You want to showcase that you are fluent, you speak well, you write well, and that's automatically putting you a few notches higher than the other people. Okay. So I just picked up a few statistics. This is from the NRMP Match website. I believe this is the year 2022. Why the personal statement actually is so important in an application? Yes, it's one of the supporting documents. There are about 7 or 8 supporting documents in addition to your MSPEs, your letters of recommendation. But these are just supporting your application. A personal statement, if you look at the fifth row on this slide, 80% of the weight of your application is given to your personal statement. What this means is that when they are just a program director will put in filters when they're looking at applications, and they will pick up applications based on either their score or the years of graduation. Now, if they're left with maybe 200 applications out of sifting through 500 based on their filters, how many are they actually going to call for an interview? Unofficially, if I'm to give you the statistics from my own program, if you get about 500 applications in a year, we only call maybe 60 or 70 candidates for an interview. Now, how do we do this? The program coordinator, the program director reads through all these personal statements and then tells. So 80% of the weight of your application is actually the personal statement. Now, I haven't included it in this slide, but another statistic in the same year, 2022, was talking about how much importance programs give to the personal statement when they're preparing their final rank list. So you, as a resident, when you finish interviewing, you make a rank list as to where you want to go. The programs do exactly the same thing, and they give the personal statement as a well written document after the interview. They've known the candidate and how much they can actually verify those facts, because they will question you on your personal statement. They want to know whether you're actually making things up or not, and they give that 60% weightage when they're actually preparing their final rank list. So to give you an example, I was applying as a hematopathology fellow. So I'm not sure what level you all are at education, but in heme, we have leukemia, which is one of the biggest chunks in our in our cases. So there's something called acute promyelocytic leukemia, which is actually a medical emergency. And this was an experience through my residency where, I failed to diagnose it. And that was a failure on my part as a student. And I touched upon this in my personal statement. And I you give an example that this is a case I had, and you want to focus on how this case actually taught you more about yourself. And I think maybe 90% of the people that I interviewed with asked me about this case, and it became a great topic for conversation. We if your interview lasts 20 minutes with someone, you easily can get 5 or 6 minutes, and that's a huge chunk of your interview talking about something that you touched upon. So that comes to my next point, like what you should actually put in a personal statement. So these are papers that I have, again, I've been doing some research to bring you the most accurate kind of information. All of these papers this one is specifically written by the program director of a program in orthopedics. This is one of the big Ivy League universities. I won't be sharing names just for confidentiality's sake, but what exactly do program directors want to see in a personal statement? Now, I believe that a lot of you are in medical school right now. I don't know what year you are in, but the fact is that you're already on your path to becoming a doctor. When you are writing a personal statement, you are applying to a specific specialty. So you want to talk about why that specific specialty is so important to you. So you want to talk about why you want to do that specialty and in another country, because you are an IMG. So you've already got the opportunity to to practice in your country. Why do you want to leave that behind and move to the US? So for instance, you can talk about infrastructure, you can talk about funding, you can talk about more opportunities. So in my case, since I worked in oncopathology for so long, we didn't have enough finance for a lot of special tests that we usually perform, like molecular and genetics. So when I said in my personal statement, I talked about the United States having, insurance funded research. So when there is that level of funding, these are tests which are available to patients, and that makes us as doctors, we get exposed to these tests, so it makes us it allows us to learn better. So that was the first thing I talked about as to why I want to come to the US. Like I said earlier, why do you want to do this particular specialty? Like my personal experience was the fact that I failed to diagnose a case, and that stood with me, and that's actually the driving force behind why I picked up hematopathology as a specialty. Um, if so the next point, when he talks about being honest, if there's a red flag on your application, like what if you failed a step? And that can happen to anyone. If you've had to repeat step one, if you had something going on, if you had major illness, or someone in your family was unwell and that didn't allow you to study, it's perfectly okay to address it. But you also don't want to write a sob story over there, because you don't want to make it sound like you're making an excuse. So, and I think this is an opinion that's very divided. If I had a red flag, I wouldn't talk about it unless someone specifically asked me about it, because I don't want them to actually focus on that. But that being said, if it's something significant, like you had to repeat a step twice, or you scored very poorly in one, like if you were applying and you scored in the low 200s for your step 2 or your step 3, I think it's something that you can address. The next thing that you want to do, I began with, if you are gifted, if you're good with English, if you're fluent, if you can write well and good. But that being said, something you must do, and I think I can't stress on this enough, you have to have your friends, your family, your mentors, even colleagues that you work with read your personal statement, because each of them will have a very, very valuable point to add. For instance, when I wrote the first draft of my personal statement, I didn't talk about any of my cases. And I actually spoke with a resident who was at the same program. And when she talked about it, she asked me why. I mean, it's written very well, but I don't see anything here where I want to talk to you about in your interview. And that's when she told me that you need to talk about a case, talk about something, because, the fact that we're all in medicine, we're all huge nerds. We all want to talk about our cases. We want to know how much we know. We want to share how much we know. So that's a conversation dropper. So you want other people's opinion, that grammatical errors, sentence structure. I think we in India, we write very, very complex sentences. We use way too many conjunctions, too many, what do you call them? Like a full stop. We use too many either quotes or commas. We use too many exclamation points. It's very different over here because our schooling system is different. We are taught to write differently. Here, they want simple statements. You don't want to put a paragraph, which is one sentence. So, having someone, even in the US, read it, someone who's had schooling over here, very, very important. Um, the next thing, what do we not want to put? As I earlier said, you don't want to write a sob story. You don't want to make an excuse. You don't want to whine about something. I can understand that everybody has a personal journey. Everybody has something that stood out to them that shaped them as an individual, and it's okay to touch upon it. But you don't want to dedicate an entire paragraph so that it's a complete downer. If I'm reading a personal statement, the whole goal is to sell yourself to someone to find out more. If you're going to write a depressing story, I'm very sorry, but if I were to screen an application, I wouldn't pick it up. Now, that's my opinion, but I think 60% of the people that I know that preview applications have the same they have the same opinion. The next thing, if you write a personal statement that's more than 1.5 pages long, nobody's going to read it. You have to restrict the length of your personal statement to 550 or 600 words. This exact word count is specifically mentioned on the ERAS website if you do a little bit of searching and combing for details. Your entire personal statement, when you upload it on the ERAS website, should fit on one page as a PDF document. This is the most important thing because if we have to turn the page, you've already lost the person's interest. Okay? The next thing is suppose there's an individual who's applying, dual applying. I applied to pathology, so everything in my case was only about pathology. I talked about hemopath, I applied only to one specialty, so I didn't have this problem. But I know that there are people who apply to family medicine, simultaneously to internal medicine and pediatrics. You don't want to assign the wrong personal statement. So when you write your personal statement, remember that you can write multiple drafts of it. So you can tailor each personal statement to each specialty. When you assign them, you don't want to assign the peds to the medicine or the family medicine to peds, because this is gross carelessness. Someone reading that is going to say, okay, this candidate has absolutely no clue what they're doing. Let's just DNR. DNR means do not rank. They may not even call you for an interview, or if they don't have enough candidates that year, they might call you, but they're not taking you seriously. Okay. He talks about a cliche, and that's not just this person. When I was talking to somebody, the number of times that people have, it's kind of a joke now where everybody says, oh, I love solving jigsaw puzzles. It's a cliche. I want to be a doctor because of the nobility of the profession. That's not true. It's 2025. I think a lot of us want to do medicine. One, because we have a background, families tell us to do medicine. Two, we want to get rich. We want to put this out in a very palatable, soft way. Nobody's doing medicine, in my opinion, in 2025 because it's noble. And it's okay to not say it. And it's kind of cringe if you actually say that. So, and the last thing is, if you're assigning a PS to a program, something that I did as well when I applied to, you have your signals, your top 3 or your top 5, depending on what specialty. What you can do is actually tailor each PS to that program. So when I wrote to my top 3 programs, I wrote their names down. I found out a little bit about the program as to what stood out to me the most, what I believe I could, relate to the most. And that is what I personalized each personal statement to the program. When you assign those, you don't want to confuse them. If you're applying to Yale, don't assign your Harvard PS to Yale and vice versa, if that makes sense. The next thing is you want to be easy. Your conversation skills should come across as, you're someone that's approachable, you're funny, you're relatable, but you don't want to be careless. You don't want to be rude. We all have different political views. We come from different faiths. There's absolutely no justifiable reason why you would want to talk about something that is so controversial in this day and age in your personal statement. And that's also something that people look out for. These are major red flags. You don't want to display those kind of characteristics as someone who comes across as touchy or argumentative. And you also don't want to come across as someone who thinks way too much of themselves. Display humility, display personability, be friendly, be approachable. And I think that's the main thing you want to talk about in the PS. This is a little more of a hot take. He talks about don't talk about salary requirements. You shouldn't be talking about this in a PS. These are all questions you ask in your interviews. Even then, I would say it's not something you touch upon. But there's a statement called there's a phrase called being tone deaf. If I were to summarize this entire slide, it's just don't be tone deaf when you're writing the PS. This is your stage. This is a perfect opportunity to showcase the best version of yourself. Use this opportunity to do that, and I think it's going to go very well. So another slide that I found on the internet is how does one actually begin? Because you're sitting there, and I hope no one's handwriting this. I hope everyone's got Word. You can proofread, you have spell check. What does one actually do? Now, what helped me was I shut myself in a room for 15 minutes, and I imagined if I were talking to someone about myself, if nobody interrupted me, what would I say about myself? If I am 30 years old today, what has shaped me into being the individual that I am today? So that's when he talks about in point 3, where he says free write 10 to 15 minutes on an initial draft. This is the raw version of yourself. Okay, the 15 minutes that you spend with yourself just typing out a document, it could be 2 pages, 3 pages, whatever. This is you raw. This is what you build on. Okay, you don't want to put this idea into ChatGPT on pointers and say, write me a personal statement, because this is I think this is career suicide if you do something in 2025. If you are going to get a document that is drafted on ChatGPT and you use it, people are going to pick up on it. This is not how people talk. So write yourself. I mean, spend a little bit of creative time, write the entire document yourself. And as you proofread, as you show it to other people, your ultimate goal is to shorten that document to 1 page. If you were to sit for 20 seconds and just read it out to yourself, that's what you want to have at the end of the entire experience of writing. It's the end of August, I believe. Programs begin to see your entire application in the first week or the last week of September. You've got a month. I sincerely hope that people have been working on their personal statements for the last few months, because it's not an easy task. If you haven't yet started, I would say start yesterday. You need to start this thing. You need to start working on it very, very soon. It takes a long time. And my personal experience is that I had my entire final draft ready just at the end of August. It was maybe the 31st of August when I realized that I absolutely hate this draft and this is not what I want people to see. I rewrote the entire thing. So prepare for those kinds of shocks and surprises. Give yourself enough time to incorporate changes, talk to other people, and be kind on yourself during the entire process, because it can be very emotionally taxing. I think that's my spiel on what your personal statement is and the importance of it. So I would like to open the floor to the rest of you if you have any questions, and I'm more than happy. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. So thanks for listening to me.